Hey, business building warrior. How are you today? I hope you're having a beautiful day. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. I've got an episode that I think is really going to motivate and encourage you. I love when we get to do that with these episodes. And today's guest that I'm going to bring on here in just a moment, his name is Will Abrams. He is a success story from the Proven Amazon course, which you've come to expect around here, right? That's what the vast majority of these episodes are. When we have a guest, it's a success story from our community. They've built a beautiful business. But this young man was in a conversation with some other sellers one time, and they were all kind of talking about a similar challenge they were facing. And he said, I think I could solve that challenge for all of us. And that's become his business. He's not the only one doing this service, but he's the only one doing it the way he's doing it. And it's caught fire, and he's helping sellers make a ton of money where otherwise they were losing money. He's adding convenience where otherwise the process was extremely inconvenient. And I'm talking about Will Abrams with Axium. And what they do at Axiom is they take anything that Amazon ships back from their warehouse to you. It could be a customer return, it could be some inventory that's sat a little longer than you were hoping it would. It could be an ASIN that's been turned off, and Amazon says, hey, you got to take this inventory back for whatever reason. There's 50 reasons why something might come back from Amazon. Well, Amazon by default is going to send it right back to you as the address on file, but you can put a return address in there. And if you make these guys your return address, they're going to turn it into as much cash as possible for you. So you don't have to worry about returns. If you're an international student selling in the United States, you've got to have something besides your home address. Amazon's not going to ship it to, you know, the middle of nowhere address wise. It's got to be somewhere in the US. You don't want to pay the shipping to send it all the way over there, even if they would. Right. So you send it to somewhere in the US and they liquidate that as best they can. And something I learned today that was very interesting, the vast majority of the time when that stuff comes back, it goes right back to Amazon again. Maybe it's a different ASIN, or maybe it's inspected and it's sent back in because Amazon said it didn't look good, but it does. It looks great. So they send it back in. 25% or so of the stuff that gets returned goes back. We'll dive into all those kind of details here in a moment with Will. But the thing I wanted to point out before I brought him on the line was just having relationships with people in this community, having conversations with them, using your creative talents and gifts and contacts, connections, even where you happen to live in the world, could give you a unique advantage that the rest of us just don't have. And you can begin to serve this community, creating multiple streams of income. Will had a $40,000 or $50,000 a month Amazon business. Like I said, he was a very successful seller. He could have stayed there and continued to grow, that he started solving this returns issue. And let me give you this link. Write this down because you're going to want to check it out. We didn't mention it enough on the episode today. We should have mentioned it a couple more times than we did. silentjim.com/returns. silentjim.com/returns is a link to the discount that Will has set up so you can check out his services for free, have some returns, go there and see if you're happy with how they handle them. It is a growing business. He's like he mentions on the show today, he's got 20 team members now. Very impressive operation. They'll sell your stuff again on Amazon if it can be. If not, they're going to sell it on eBay on your account. They'll help you get set up with an account if you don't have one. They've got other options to turn those returns into cash in your pocket without it ever being a headache for you. How cool is that? I love the ingenuity of this community. So if you're new around here, a couple last reminders before we jump over and have a conversation with Will. If your business isn't at the point yet where you're getting returns, you need to start growing a business. You need to get into the number one e-commerce opportunity in the world from my vantage point. For someone who's never made money online before, this is it. Get into the Proven Amazon course. There's a link at silentjim.com to all of this, or just go to provenamazoncourse.com. You'll see for $39 a month, it's all the education you'll ever need. Another thing I want to tell you about is our upcoming conference in May. Will and I, my guest today, we talk about it a little bit as well. It's May 23rd through 25th in Orlando, Florida. We'd love to have you there. One of my all-time favorite authors, my favorite living author actually, is our keynote speaker this year. You can see all the details about that on the page, theprovenconference.com. Come join us. Hundreds are already registered. It will be a life-changing event with so many creative strategies for growing your e-commerce business. 40 breakout sessions. Our guest today happens to be one of the sponsors as well. We're so grateful for that. So let's jump over and meet Mr. Will Abrams with Axium Prep. Again, that link, you're going to want it, silentjimdotcom/returns to get the details on this service. Enjoy this interview. So, Will, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Good to be back. Thank you, Jim.
I'm eager to hear an update on what's happened since we last spoke. And maybe we can start with a bit of a recap if you're ready to kind of tell your story a little bit, and let's get
Sure.
into it.
Yeah, that sounds great. I think last year around this time was we did our last podcast, and a lot has definitely changed. Things have gotten busier, that's for sure. But yeah, I guess kind of just a recap on my story. I would love to kind of give a start to finish. I found out about this community in 2020. I have an aunt who still sells on Amazon to this day. I think found out how through this community. So she directed me to some of the courses, and I think I started with maybe Amazon Basics or Amazon Selling 101, one of those two. And yeah, just started selling on Amazon. I think at the time I was in college and working part time, or excuse me, I think I was working full time. And so, I was looking for something where I could bring in a little bit of extra income on the side, and that's where it started. And it morphed into something that I really loved. I think at the peak, I was selling, I want to say 40 or 50,000 a month. I was doing a lot of dog and cat food and making great money doing it. I think I was somewhere around 30% ROI, and I kind of just fell in love with it. And yeah, that carried me through all of 2021 and 2022, just doing it on the side, making extra income and doing really well and loving it and being involved in the community, some of the masterminds, all that good stuff. So, and then in the end of 2022, I decided, I wanted to quit my full-time job and really make a run at starting a business and employing people and something just brick and mortar. And so, me and a friend who has taken all the courses himself and is involved with the community decided that we wanted to start a business. And around this time, my aunt, who introduced me to this community, kind of said, "Hey, look, my prep center won't handle my returns anymore, and I'm wondering if you could help me." She said, "Can my stuff come to you? I'll tell you what to send into Amazon, and I'll tell you what to list on eBay, and we'll go from there."
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's just to fill in the listeners for just a moment when we say
yeah.
returns, what do you mean returns? Just
It's a good
pretend
question.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, yeah, I'm not talking necessarily about customer returns. We're talking about returns and removals from FBA centers, fulfillment by Amazon. So, that could obviously be number one, a customer return. Statistics say that between 15 and 40% of all purchases on Amazon get returned. That could depend a lot. So if
On
you're
the
selling book,
category.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you're selling books, it could be 10 or 15%. If you're selling luxury clothing, it could be 40. So,
Women's shoes, not for the
uh-huh.
faint of heart, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
'cause,
definitely
it's not
not.
uncommon they'll order 6 pairs and return 5,
Mhm.
keep the one they
Yeah.
like. What are you gonna do with that inventory? It can still be
Yes.
wildly profitable still, but
Hmm.
because the prices all go up accordingly.
Agreed.
But, what are you gonna do with all that stuff? Do you want it on your front porch figuring it out? Well,
Exactly.
right.
Agreed. And so that's obviously a big portion of it that we see is stuff that's unfulfillable.
Mhm.
Things are coming back. A box is torn. It's been tried on once. I think
Right.
those are called brown bottom shoes or some term for it.
Okay.
But these are items with still significant value, but just can't necessarily be sold on Amazon. So that's the unsellable portion of it. And then there's also the stranded portion. So these are items that, let's say you got gated in a brand, like or retroactively gated in a brand. Let's say you got an IP claim. Let's say you didn't have, there was an issue with the listing. There was, fill in the blank. There's a million different ways that something could get stranded. It could be
Mhm.
labeled wrong. There could be a bunch
Mhm.
of different reasons, but for
One
whatever
of the things that
reason,
happens to us, Will, is, we'll get real excited about an ASIN and we'll order, say 100 units, and then
right?
suddenly it slows down.
Mhm.
Do we
Yeah,
want to let it sit there and collect storage fees? No, let's bring it back. Well, do we want to bring it back and do something with it, or do we want to send it
yeah,
out to kind of liquidate it into as much cash as possible? That's
exactly.
considered a return in
Yeah.
your world, right? Basically
Exactly.
anything coming back.
Yes, exactly. Anything coming back. So, like you mentioned, that could be long-term storage fees. That could be a whole host of different issues. It could be seasonal stuff. You missed the
Mhm,
window for Christmas and for Q4, and now there's no reason to pay however much a month to store that. So
mhm.
it's a wide variety of stuff, and that's kind of how we got started. It was actually in this community. I was in some mastermind groups, and we started doing it for my aunt, and then she told a friend, and then it was sent in a group chat, and then it was sent in another group chat, and all of a sudden we had 30 people we were doing this for 2 months later. So it's really grown, and it's definitely something that we have seen a real need for.
Yeah, that's tremendous. And I love, just to make an observation for the listener's sake, I don't want anyone to ever be under the impression that we teach people how to sell on Amazon and anything else you do is kind of outside of the arena. We love
Right.
starting people selling with Amazon, but you just illustrated a beautiful example of the doors of opportunity that open. Nowhere do we want to encourage people to say, hey, 15 years from now, you're going to be doing the same thing you're doing now. No, you're doing it wrong if that's the case.
Right.
Relationships, partnerships, creativity, solving the problems that you see your fellow sellers having. The first prep center as a concept, to my knowledge, came out of this community because we had some international students who were like trying to find a friend with some garage space in the US. Like, hey, you know what? I could be that friend with some garage space, but how about I do it out of a warehouse? And so
Right.
we decided, what are we going to call it? Let's call it a prep center because
Hmm.
that's what's happening. We're prepping other people's inventory for Amazon. So just seeing those needs, being around the community, meeting those needs. And you guys, like you said, you're a year in to this
Hmm.
service now. You're still selling on Amazon, but this has kind of become the way that you contribute to the community, and you've built multiple income streams as a result. So just fill me in a little bit. How's it going? We check in from time to time, but
Hmm.
just tell me how it's going and tell me how people can find you as well. So I'll stick a link in the show notes. I don't happen to remember. It seems like we've got a referral link with a special deal or
Hmm.
something. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll read. If you don't know, do you happen to know that offhand
No,
or how
I
long it
do.
is?
Yeah. It was
Cool.
just axiomprepcenter.com/returns. Or actually, is that right? I think it might be
That's Silent
silentjimdotcom
Jim. That's it.
/returns. That's what it is.
silentjimdotcom/returns is the offer
Okay.
you set up for our
Mhm.
community. That's it. We'll
Yeah.
stick that in the show notes. It's Axiom as the name of your business, of
Mhm.
course. But
Yes.
yeah, so just fill me in. How's it going?
It's going great. And I think over the last year, we've made a lot of improvements that we're very proud of. I think first of all, the biggest improvement that we've made is we've given more control to our clients. So when our business first started, we said, hey, we'll decide what goes to Amazon, what goes to eBay. There's a couple different reasons why that doesn't really work. Number one, there's a chance that, let's say, you promise to not sell a brand anymore on Amazon. You got a cease and desist, you got an IP claim, whatever the case might be.
Right.
We don't always know. Some
Yeah.
people are able to sell a brand, some people are not able to sell a brand. The
Sure.
last thing in the world that we would want to do is put your Amazon account in jeopardy.
By
So
resubmitting inventory that had just come back because it was
exactly.
something you're not allowed to sell anymore.
Exactly. And
Okay.
and I think another issue that we've seen with, whether it's a prep center doing your returns or other services, whatever the case may be, is it's hard to really tell what to do with a product unless you have seen pictures of it. Because
Hmm.
Amazon is telling you that they've sent X product back. And a lot of the times that is not the product that comes back. I would say 25% of the time, what it says on the slip and on the removal order is not actually what comes back to us. So,
As far
our
as the
client,
number of units or the actual product
the
itself?
actual product,
Really?
especially with shoe clients that we see. So
Okay,
we
that
see
makes
tons
sense.
of,
We don't do a lot of shoes,
okay. Yeah.
so
So
I
we see,
wouldn't have experienced that. Okay.
yeah. So I think it's called switcheroos in the business.
Oh, sure. I've heard the story.
Yes.
I have heard those
Mhm.
stories. I
Yes.
sold
So
them a $150 pair of Nike running shoes, and I got back, some
exactly.
Velcro
Yeah.
slippers from from Walmart. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, shoes are wildly profitable. A lot of people love
Mhm.
it, but I don't like dealing with the returns.
Mhm.
So are a lot of your clients shoe clients? I'm just curious.
Yes. Yes, a lot of our clients are shoe clients. It's a
Hmm.
high return rate item, and
Hmm.
it's something that people are very open to buying used and pre-owned. So they do very well on eBay, and they get returned a lot. So
Hmm.
it is a big client of ours. And just to finish answering your question, just with that control part of the business, our clients get a view. They get a portal, and they can
Yeah.
see each item that comes in. They see detailed pictures in a professional light box. They see an inspection, a grading of that product, and then they can
Wow.
tell us whether to sell that on Amazon or sell that on eBay.
Yeah.
They can give us the ASIN. We need that ASIN to send it into
Hmm.
Amazon. And then
Hmm.
for eBay, they can set a listing price if they would like, whatever the
Hmm.
case may be. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so that's a big improvement. And then I would also say, I don't think this is something that we were onto the last time we spoke. And I don't think this is something that quite frankly, a lot of Amazon sellers are onto are the amount of reimbursements that as a seller you are eligible for. So
Mhm.
we just talked about switcheroos. That's a big one. So Amazon is supposed to reimburse you for those, of
They're
course.
supposed to. Yeah.
But a lot of times they don't. They slip through the cracks. So that's a big reimbursement that sellers aren't filing. And then additionally, we file reimbursements for damages that happen during the return process, during the removal process at Amazon. So
Right. Because we have received back, large
Mhm.
shipments of our own product. We sent it in
Yep.
looking great. And they
Uh-huh.
send it back looking like a guy sat on by an elephant. And we're like,
Right.
what
What
happened,
happened?
guys?
Exactly. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I guess as an example, a brand that got gated this last year was Lancome. So
Hmm.
Lancome gets gated. No one can sell Lancome anymore. So we had thousands of units get removed out of Amazon. Thousands of Lancome products get removed out of Amazon, and they're
Right.
getting removed in sellable condition.
Yes.
However, by the time they arrive to our warehouse, the box is blemished. They've been stepped on. They've been thrown in the back of a UPS van, and they are no longer, off the shelf new.
Retail
So
ready. Yeah. Right.
those are also reimbursements that we file for our clients.
Mm.
So I would say those are the two biggest ones that we file. There's a couple other ones in there that are a little more obscure. Let's say
Hmm.
Amazon removes something as expired and it's not. Let's say they told you they were removing five and they sent you four. There's a couple different ones that we file, but those are the two most common, and that's something that is completely hands off. Our
Yeah.
clients don't have to file those reimbursements, and to be quite honest, most of the folks that we talk to, they say, "I didn't know this existed. This is
Hmm.
free money."
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I'd say that's
Yeah.
another big improvement.
I even have a bit of a theory and see if this rings true. And you may have a better way of saying it because I'm not sure what your like elevator pitch is at this point. You had a year to kind of develop it, right? But
Yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking if you're an Amazon seller and you've got stuff accumulating in a pile somewhere,
Mhm.
you'd be better off flipping that address to you guys.
Yeah.
You'd be making more money and you wouldn't have that pile anymore. You'd be making a lot more, significantly more money, and you wouldn't have that pile
Agreed.
anymore. I mean, that's kind of to me, that's the best visual that I can come up with. It's like, oh, I'll get to it someday. I'll have a yard
Mhm.
sale or maybe do some eBay or get some Facebook Marketplace where, like, instead of it even coming to you, just eliminate that from the equation and have it go to you guys. And I didn't even know you guys had gotten into reimbursements.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
No.
great value add for your
Mhm.
clients. Like, hey, this is crushed. We can't, we can stick this in a sidewalk sale, maybe get $2 out of it, but we're not going to get 40.
Right.
And
Hmm.
so let's apply for a reimbursement.
Yes.
And do you guys keep a percentage of that or
We
how do you?
do. We'll take a commission on it. And the
Mhm.
fun part about those reimbursements as well is I would say the vast majority of them are happening on box blemished returns. Let's say, it's the Lancome products we were talking about. The
Mhm.
makeup's still perfectly fine and intact. Let's say
Mhm.
it's a shoe, the shoe box has been slightly ripped or bent, or
Mhm.
it's some sort of, I'm not going to say the brand, but vinyl collectible little
Mhm.
bobblehead.
Mhm.
I think most people might know what we're talking about, but we'll file that reimbursement and then it'll go straight to eBay again and be sold. So,
Mhm.
it's kind of double recovery there. And so,
Gotcha. And now
especially,
I don't know Amazon's policy on that. Have you guys looked into that? If they reimburse you, do you say, "Hey, keep it, do what you want with it"? Is
yeah,
that
mhm,
yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
Okay. I love it,
yes,
man. They don't like,
mhm,
"Hey, must destroy" kind of rule in there anywhere.
right,
Good. They didn't want to
yeah.
blast it out to the masses, otherwise, but that's fantastic, man. I love it. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it just I love the ingenuity of this community and how, you know, kind of just for a personal vantage point, how I have this conversation with the leadership team all the time. All we have to do is introduce minimally viable concepts to the community. And then people way smarter than any of us are going to take it, shape it, run with it, compete with each
Mm.
other. The cream of the crop's going to rise and these great ideas are going to emerge. We don't have to think of every contingency when we're developing ideas anymore because we just kind of lay it out there. And then great creative guys like you, Will, and your team take the ball, run with it, improve on the process. And before you know it, you've drifted away from the basics of selling on Amazon, which is still a
Right.
beautiful, viable business. We do it all day, every day here, but you've
Hmm.
drifted into a specialization. And I just love what this illustrates. I love what your story illustrates. And
Thank you.
so share with me what you can about the numbers of your business. I don't know if that's like proprietary, secretive, or we didn't prepare beforehand, but like just put it into terms some folks might understand. Like, what have you accomplished in a year? Like, how big's your team? How big's your warehouse? That sort
Hmm.
of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the last year alone, we have processed 65,000 returns and removals. That's units. So
Hmm.
that's a big jump from 2022 when we were hanging out in a garage, kind of brainstorming what we could do with these shoes. But that's a big deal. We also just moved into a newer space to accommodate just the influx of clients that we've had. I would say we have clients in probably 20 different countries across the world. That's, I
Yeah,
think especially for international sellers,
for
our
sure.
service is a no-brainer. They don't have
Yeah.
much else to do with their
It's a
inventory.
must have. It's a must have, unless they happen
Well,
to be a prep center that would handle this for them. But this is such a specialization. No prep center pops into my head that handles all of it. We got prep
yeah.
centers that specialize
Yeah.
in merchant fulfill. We got prep
Mhm.
centers that specialize in typically the FBA stuff, whichever, that's what
Right.
most of all of them do. And then we got ones that specialize in returns, but I'm not aware of anybody that does it all at a high level. Not
Right.
yet. But
Right.
it's such a blue ocean that's continuing to expand.
Mhm.
I'm sure that guy will emerge at some point. That service is going to be out there, but there's a few hundred prep centers at this point.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there's very few doing the specialization that you have
Agreed.
with,
Right.
are you aware, not to name your competitors, we're not going to do that right now. This is your
Mhm.
story today, but does anyone else handle reimbursements like that you know of
Uh,
in the industry?
Not that I know of,
Because I
and we've
haven't heard of
spoken
that.
about no, and we've spoken about some different competitors, and again, not to name names, no one does exactly what we do.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
differentiating yourself. And
mhm,
you're coming at from the
right,
angle of a successful Amazon seller. You were at a
mhm,
$50,000 a month level before this opportunity
yep,
approached you. You could very easily still be there or far higher,
mhm,
but you saw the opportunity, you drifted into it, you're serving with excellence, and
right.
I love it. How big's the team now?
We're up to 20 people at our
Nice.
location, and yeah, and I guess just to kind of dovetail on what you were saying, I think from my previous Amazon experience, anything that I could do to source as much as possible. I think that's the big value add that we have for our clients. It's yeah, I think the dream for me when I started an Amazon business was how, because we're talking about, and I think this has a lot to do with the return problem. What's so cool about these Amazon businesses is there is no physical infrastructure. You have someone else doing your prep, you have someone else doing your storage, you have someone else doing your shipping, you have someone else doing your returns, you have someone else doing your manufacturing. And so what was amazing about my Amazon business was I was able to run it, from my tiny, one bedroom apartment while also in college. I didn't have to deal with all this inventory. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
returns become a big issue when you're in that one bedroom apartment or your garage
Yeah.
is full or whatever the case may be. But you know, I, I would just say that's probably the biggest thing that we do for our clients is how do we help you spend as much as time as possible doing what is actually making your business money, which
Yeah.
is sourcing. It's not dealing with these returns and removals coming from Amazon.
Right. Finding great new ASINs to test. But even
Right.
that part can be automated and trained. And, we've
Right.
got plenty of people now. We've got to watch, I've had the opportunity to watch this whole concept mature over the past, say, I don't know, 7, 8 years. The replen specifically, there's dozens of ways to use Amazon. I would say even more than that, ways to use Amazon to make great income. But specifically, the place where we start all new sellers, it's kind of
Mhm.
matured and expanded to the point where it can be, such as episode 754 with Kang is my latest recent example. He's got a $3 million business. He doesn't do anything except check his stats. He's got a team
Mhm.
that sources, team that preps, team that handles all this. It's all handled by other people. He checks his stats. He's trained someone else. So when I say the key to automating a process and creating a system is only doing the things that only you can do, he slowly stepped away from every piece of it and built an incredible business. And there's nothing that only he can do. He has
Yeah.
his team in place for all of it. And this
Mhm.
is this is one of those steps, right? Is there anyone that this isn't a good fit for? Like, do I need to be at a certain size before it makes sense? If I'm only sending you like 3 things a month, are you like, oh my gosh, this guy again, right? Like, is there a
Yeah.
size limit here?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's not necessarily a size limit. It's, there are certain categories that we do better with, and certain categories that
Mm,
we don't do so well in. So
mhm,
I don't think that that bars folks from using our service, but I think what is important is to pick and choose what comes to us. So, yeah, I think a lot of the businesses that we work with are fairly hybrid. We'll have someone who does 20% grocery and 60% clothing, shoes, and apparel. The last 20% is health and household, whatever the case may be. So,
mhm.
as an example, grocery is a category that we just don't do well.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know if anyone does. I don't know how you could, because by the time
you
you got
really
a
can't.
grocery return, man,
Yeah, you get one chance at it. You get one chance at selling grocery.
expiration dates, to state the obvious. Yeah.
Exactly. And then additionally, sale price of items is important. If you're selling an item that sells brand new on Amazon for 8, 9, $10, 11, $12, and it's coming back as unsellable, it
Mhm.
shouldn't come to us. Nor should it come to you. It shouldn't come to anyone. It should
Yeah.
be disposed of or liquidated at
Kill it with
Amazon.
fire right where it sits, man. Yeah,
Absolutely. It's not
it's
worth anyone's time.
it
And
costs you more than $9 to ship something twice. I don't care what it is.
yep. So
Just the
they're just
shipping.
yeah, and so there is that category that we tell people we want you to make money. So do not send us those items.
Mhm.
So for the vast majority of people, 20% of their inventory is stuff that just shouldn't be dealt with. It should be
Yeah.
liquidated or disposed of in Amazon. So
Yeah.
that's a big disclaimer and something we like to bring up a lot on the
Sure.
front end. And some of our bigger clients pay virtual assistants to comb through their returns and removals and pick and choose what comes to us. And some people do it on their own, but it's an important part of dealing with
Mm.
your returns.
Sounds like a service you could offer, actually.
Yeah, we've thought about it.
If you're
We
looking
have.
to expand your
Yeah.
services, pay someone, charge me a few bucks, and you'll go through and go, here's the stuff we just don't want, and here's the
Yeah.
stuff that we should take. And
Hmm.
and you probably know more about this than I do. The stuff that you don't want, like, I still got to do something with it.
Hmm.
Can I instruct Amazon? How much do you know? I've never. Let me restart and rephrase my question. I haven't heard a success story yet from someone saying, "Yeah, I just had Amazon liquidate it for me, and
Hmm.
they sent me a
Yeah.
check, and it was awesome."
Yeah.
I haven't heard
Yeah.
that story yet. Are you hearing any
Right.
of those yet? Or like,
So I'll say this, to be fair, Amazon is definitely trying. They just rolled something out called grade and resell. It's almost like they're trying to deal with this problem, but I think they're just having a lot of trouble. And additionally, they're under a lot of fire. They
mhm,
have been
mhm.
environmental concerns about burning excess inventory and too much stuff
Literally,
ending up
they
in the
do have to
landfills.
burn some
Yeah,
of it.
yeah, which is crazy to think about from a non-Amazon.
I was joking when I said kill it with fire. It's only eight
No, it's
dollars, but
true. Yeah.
I didn't realize that. That's hilarious.
Yes, yes, and so it's a big issue for them, and so the Amazon liquidations. I wouldn't say I've heard a success story either. As number one, if it is eligible, which that's a big
Mhm,
if, you're going to get 5 to 10% of your sale price new. So if
right.
it's a $50 item, it's just, and that's if it's eligible in the first place. So
Mhm. A few
uh,
bucks. Yeah,
a few
at
bucks at
best.
most. And
Yeah.
but it's better than paying the cost to ship it and
Mhm,
having to spend any time dealing with it if it
mhm.
just isn't worth it. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, but that is the other option for those,
Mhm.
low cost items that you just can't do anything with. And
Yeah.
what percentage would you say of what you bring in is still kind of sitting around? And like, what is that? I
Mhm.
almost imagine that there would have to be some kind of like tier A, tier B, tier C. Okay, it just got here. This is going to sell.
Mhm.
Love it. Everyone's going to make money. And then, okay, if it doesn't, it moves to tier B and like, okay, time for Facebook Marketplace and a sidewalk sale. And then we got tier C. It's like, time for the dump. Got some bad news for everybody. Like, break that down for me a little bit, not to nerd
Yeah.
out too much, but I'm
Oh,
just
yeah, it's a
curious, when we're playing with
yeah.
tens of thousands of dollars worth of my inventory, if
Mhm.
I'm, let's say,
Mhm.
a high
Yeah.
multiple six-figure seller, these
Mhm.
things matter. Like, what's the
Yeah,
process? How long does it
absolutely.
take to play out? Just you've got enough data now to get a feel for this thing.
Yeah. Well, so I would say the number one grade A is Amazon. So we send a ton of stuff back to Amazon. I can understand that being a little bit counterintuitive if maybe you're a new seller,
Mhm.
but we send a ton of stuff back to Amazon. Maybe Amazon removed it because they said it was unsellable for whatever reason. Turns out it's not. It's new, can be sent back in. You know, you mislabeled it and needs to come back before going back in. There's a bunch of different reasons, but
So if you had to put a percent on that, how much of it just goes right back to Amazon if you had to
I would
totally
say
guess?
25%.
That's way more than I was thinking.
Yeah, I'd
That's
say,
great.
yeah, and again, especially with a lot of shoe folks,
Yeah.
this is something we are wanting to roll out to all of our clients.
Mhm.
And if anyone is a shoe seller, and feel free to ask us about this because it's something that we can accommodate, is reboxing things and sending it back into Amazon.
Hmm.
So we've heard from a lot of sellers, hey, this is how I've been dealing with my returns. Can you guys do this? And kind of that's part of how we've improved on our service over the last years is hey, I do this. Hey, I do this. Can you do this? Can you do that? And so one of those things is, let's say I'm selling a brand new Puma shoe, send it in, someone tries it on once, gets sent back. Maybe they don't even try it on. Maybe they just send it right back. Box is a little bit damaged. We've seen, you know, great success with just putting that in a cardboard Amazon box and sending it back in. Amazon seems to be completely fine with that, and that's something that some of our
Hmm.
clients would like us to do. So
That's
there are a
cool.
couple different things like that. It's relabeling, maybe it's reboxing, maybe
Mhm.
Amazon just made a mistake, maybe that listing got taken down and it's hey, here's a new listing for
There's
it.
a new ASIN that it should go to.
Yep,
Yeah,
or
makes
it
total
got
sense.
automatically removed for long-term storage fees. Sometimes
Mhm.
folks just hey, I wasn't as on top of repricing that item as I needed to be. Let's send
Mhm.
it back in, I'll
Yeah.
reprice it aggressively and we'll get it sold.
Yeah.
So that's option one. You're going to get your most money out of going straight back into Amazon. So and then as it comes to eBay, I've been consistently shocked over the last year and a half as to how successful eBay is.
Mhm.
Frankly, I had never bought something on eBay before starting this business.
Yeah.
Never.
They're the number 2, number 3, depending on where
Mhm.
Walmart is at any given time, player in this space.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Mhm.
get on there. Nowhere near as much as get on Amazon for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, eBay plus Walmart is still tiny
Mhm.
compared to Amazon. But
Right.
there's a lot of people very
There
loyal
is.
and you can get they know they're going to get a deal. And so
Mhm.
you've got a pretty good reputation score in your store, which is another advantage. I'm assuming, like if someone's never sold on eBay, your reputation score is pretty low. I've had the
Right.
advantage. I've been selling on eBay, I think like 24 years or something. My score
Mm.
is ridiculous.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
great.
I've got one of those accounts that
Mm.
gets a lot of love from the algorithm and sellers
Right.
have a lot of confidence. So that's another advantage you have that maybe someone who only does, 3 things a year on eBay, they don't have
You
that.
know, that's a good point, and we've toyed around with that idea, but I think our clients really want their inventory to continue to be theirs throughout the whole
Mm. Oh, so you
process, and
list it on
so
their account whenever
we
possible.
list it on their account, and there's a couple different reasons for that. If we're paying people out
Mhm.
every year, I don't want a 1099, 200,
Oh my
however many
goodness.
different
Yeah,
people, and
sure.
there's a bunch of issues like that.
Okay.
So it's on clients' individual accounts, and I think we've gotten pretty good at here's the best way to start an eBay store and kind of get it rolling.
Yeah, so you've
And
even helped some people start and get making
we've
sales on their own
we've
account.
helped a ton of people, and
Wow.
I would say if we had a page of FAQs, that's the most frequently asked question is, hey, I don't have an eBay store, can I still use your service?
Gotcha.
Absolutely, we can
Yeah,
help talk you through that. And I would say eBay's promoted listings, that has, I think, come a long way from
yeah.
everything I know. And so we've seen people get eBay stores off the ground with a lot of success.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. I love it. That brilliant solution.
And
So
that's
that
another
where are we
asset
at?
as
About
well.
75% of the inventory at this point kinda moves one of those 2
Mhm.
channels, I'm guessing?
Yes. Yeah, and so you get 90 days to sell your product on eBay,
Mhm.
if it does go to eBay, and you can pay to have it stored for longer after that if you'd like.
Okay.
And we see the vast majority of things sell throughout that 90 days. And then at the end of that, you can also turn it into an auction if you would like. That's something we see a lot of our clients do. I'm going to set a minimum price here. So I'm not losing money on my shipping label, and I'm going to
Right.
turn this into an auction, and we're going to get it sold. If I make $1, if I make $2, so be it. So, that's, I would say, how the vast majority of our products go is it's either going to sell on the front end or you're going to auction it at the end. And then if for whatever reason it doesn't sell on an auction, we can donate it. We can do whatever you'd
Mhm.
like with it. And that's what we get from a lot of our clients.
That's so cool. Brilliant model, man. I love it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
and in this rapidly expanding market, just the number of solutions like this that are just sitting out there for people to jump on. And it's a
Yeah.
matter of, and I love how your story started. We kind of flew past this part, but
Mm,
you're having conversations with other sellers.
yeah.
How's it going? What do you need?
Hmm.
What service could I tack on here? And of the dozens of services that are provided now for Amazon sellers, they all started that way. And some people still sell on Amazon, some people don't. But in this expanding arena, there's a need for all kinds of talents and services and unique, software solutions and things that we've seen emerge. I mean, when I started into this, 14 years or so ago, selling on Amazon, I would venture to say that 95% of the services and tools and just the things that exist now to support. So they didn't exist. You were doing it all.
Hmm.
Kind of
Yeah.
like with eBay, you did it all.
Hmm.
You sourced it, you stored it, you shipped it to the
Hmm.
customer when it
Yep.
sold. If it came back, you dealt with the return. Like you better have the space in your house.
Hmm.
And that's what Amazon just opened up this whole arena of possibilities where we can kind of support each other's businesses by
Hmm.
specializing in different ways. I just love that about this
Great.
business. Yeah. Very creative. Well, was there anything else on your mind that you wanted to share? I do know we need to mention you're going to be at the conference. Thank you
Yes.
for being a sponsor this year, by the way. Theprovenconference.com is the website. So Will and some of his team are going to be there. You're bringing your family. We're right next to SeaWorld.
I haven't even thought about it. I'm sure they would be interested.
Yeah, gotta bring them along, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a walking distance just across the street. We got discounts with
Incredible.
the resort we're at there, great
Awesome.
room rates, man. It's
Hmm.
a very, very kid-friendly place too, if anyone on your team wants to bring some kiddos, man, and
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anything else on your mind, as we start to wrap this one up?
Just always gratitude for the pack community. It's where I started, and it feels great to be able to continually give back to the community. And I think something that we had talked about, just a special discount for pack community members.
Mhm,
If you follow that link, we'll waive your first month flat fee. It's
mhm.
just something to you can kind of get a feel for our service, take a look at our portal, have a couple things run through the system, and see what you think. So we love working with the pack community, and we're excited to help more sellers.
Yeah, let's send you some more folks you can serve and help them clear out their garage and not
That's
have
right.
to, be in trouble with their spouse
Yeah.
for taking up all that
Right.
space with the returns on the front porch. Yeah,
Agreed.
that's when we hear from a lot of people that, that's the point where we're like, "Yeah, you need to call Axiom. You need to get a hold of these guys." These stuff
Right.
starts accumulating
Mm,
that
mm.
you send in and it's come back. And like, that
Yeah.
pile, let's turn that into cash, guys,
Well,
right?
we've seen some crazy stuff. I'll tell you
For
that.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
That first shipment's probably typically a big one, right?
It is. We've
Do you
seen
take stuff
U-Hauls. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you take
Mm.
stuff from like, if I do have that pile, will you take
Mhm.
that or does it have to come from Amazon?
No, no, we absolutely take that. We've kind
You'll
of
take the death pile. All right, man.
anecdotally called it a basement pile. One of our
Mhm,
early clients
mhm,
sent us their entire basement, so that's
mhm.
been the term for it for a while. And I think
Yeah.
for a lot of
That
these,
sounds like a correct me if I'm wrong, that sounds like a Leah thing if I'm
it,
guessing.
it is a
Yep.
it is a weird thing. And I think recently I don't know if I think folks in our community might know about this, but Coach got recently blacklisted. We've
Mhm.
had Lancome get blacklisted, and
Yeah.
that's a lot of the kind of basements we receive is
Yep.
certain brands that a lot of people sell say, hey, you can't
Brands
sell that stuff
A
anymore.
lot of those A plus top tier, top
Mm.
1%
Yes.
recognized brand, the brands that might have a commercial during the Super Bowl,
Right.
like,
Hmm.
you'll see them kind of come and go with their attitude towards Amazon. My favorite example
Great.
is Nike. I mean,
Mm.
I don't know, you probably weren't even
Yeah.
selling when Nike did this. It's been several
Mm.
years ago, but Nike swept through and said, no resellers on Amazon, none. We're going to develop a direct relationship with Amazon.
Hmm.
Everything's going to come from Nike to Amazon. We don't need any resellers. Everyone went screaming, running for the hills. Oh no, this is a sign of the end of opportunity. And this has been like 10, 12 years ago. Within 6, 8 months, Nike flipped its decision, tore up the agreement. Amazon was thrilled. Nike was thrilled. It's like, let the resellers loose. Have you heard why? Why they changed their mind?
No.
Do you have a
Mm-mm.
theory? Because a
Not
lot of
sure.
people, until they connect the dots, are like, why wouldn't Nike just want to keep all the money for themselves? It makes total sense, right? Well, the reality of what started happening, which is the same thing that's going to happen with Clinique and Lancome and Coach, and they'll all be back. That's my theory. They always come
Hmm.
back. And the
Hmm.
reason is their inventory starts stacking up in dusty corners
Hmm.
because now you don't have this army of resellers out there looking for opportunity. Because a lot of business is just moving stuff from a dark, dusty corner where no one can see it into the spotlight of people who want it, right? And Nike can't do that. Nike can make shoes, but they don't know how to tell this warehouse in the middle of nowhere that's got more product than it knows what to do with how to move it.
Right.
Nike doesn't know how to do that. Resellers do, right? So you turn them loose on this e-commerce platform and say, okay, you guys can resell the models from 3 year ago that we don't even have anymore. Like if you can find them somewhere in some dusty warehouse, and it's a legitimate transaction, you can prove it's Nike. You want to be invoices and
Right.
receipts and all that, right?
Hmm.
You want
Hmm.
legitimate inventory. But they notice it just their sales, to make long story short, their sales slumped. And I can predict Clinique, Lancome, Coach, all these big A plus brands, with $1 billion ad marketing campaign, their sales will drop because their Amazon's not going to be performing as well as it was before because the only way for them to get inventory is to go straight to the brand and they can't
Hmm.
stock all those ASINs that are now going to start to die with inventory sitting in dark, dusty corners, which means retailers place smaller orders because they got more than they
Hmm.
need of these brands,
Hmm.
right? So they'll turn those fires back on and the sales will pick back up again and they'll love resellers again. I've seen that cycle play out with not just with Nike, but with other brands as well. Typically, it doesn't go well for the brands that do this. So I don't want the reason I point all that out is because I don't want people to think like this is the trend, man. Brands are shutting us down. No, Nike did it and then came back and they've been roaring ever since with,
Hmm.
probably a million resellers out there putting money in the bank every month because of Nike, just Nike,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So just one example. I just didn't want to leave anyone thinking like, oh no, these big brands are shutting us down. Like, yeah, turn it
Hmm.
into cash on eBay, move on, find other ASINs, man. But they'll be back.
Agreed.
They'll be
Yeah.
back. But anyway, yeah, great job, man. Looking forward to see you in May at the
Thank you.
conference. And yeah, unless there's anything else you wanted to share, I think this has been a very informative chat.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Excellent, man. Where are you guys located? What part of the country? I don't remember.
We're just north of Atlanta in Alpharetta, Georgia.
Yeah, nice central location. Cool.
Mhm.
Very good. Yeah, we got about two-thirds of the country lives east of the Mississippi. I started figuring out these kinds of things when I started
Mm.
planning events. So
Mm.
anywhere in that, like, Indianapolis, Nashville, Atlanta
Right.
corridor, man, you're right in the middle of the heart of the
Hmm.
population, really.
Hmm.
So a nice central location for as far as the fees for shipping stuff into you guys. And
Yeah.
that's great, man. I love it. Well done.
Awesome.
All right. Well, God bless you guys. Good hanging out with you today,
Yeah.
Will. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, good to see you. I'm going to talk to the listeners for just a second. If you enjoyed this conversation, maybe this is one of the first episodes you've heard of our podcast. I need to let you know that the vast majority of our episodes are interviews with successful students using the Proven Amazon course to launch and grow beautiful businesses from home. In some cases, they go on to tack on other great opportunities, like you've heard Will talk about today. But in all cases, it's students of our community who've built something amazing, and we love sharing those inspirational stories. So if you want more of them, jump over to silentjimdotcom, scroll back. We're coming up on 800 episodes at this point. That's like 600 plus, almost 700 episodes that interviews with successful students from our community. We have a free Facebook group as well that's about 75,000 members that has a couple thousand success stories in it. If you want to scroll through those for inspiration and motivation, we're here for you. And if you want to book a call with our team to talk about your e-commerce plans, here's a link. It'll be in the show notes as well that you can go to silentjim.com/book a call, all one word, and get on our schedule, have a conversation with one of our coaches and see if some of the things that we have to offer around here make sense for you. We'd love to have that free conversation with you. But hey, Will, one last time, say hey to the crew. Good job. I love what you've built. I'm a big fan, and we'll see you in May. All right, my friend.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Talk to you soon, my friend.